Right, so part of the process of building a home that has low EMF is actually doing a lot of hardwiring, and that includes your low voltage wires, and it can include speakers. So if you're trying to get away from Wi-Fi or even Bluetooth in your house, you need to hardwire the speakers. So we did that in this house here, and I want to show you kind of how it's laid out so you have an idea of what it would look like for your house. So this is where our amplifiers would sit for our speakers. You can see all these wires coming back in here. These are all going to get made up later, but these all run out to different locations where we pre-wired for speakers. And even if you're not going to put speakers in your house right away, maybe you want to save the money, the pre-wiring is fairly inexpensive, so it's worthwhile to put them in while you're building. Otherwise, it's really expensive to do it later. So better to do it now than later. But you can see here that I have some Cat 6 wires that are running here that are feeding back over to my low volt panel to make sure I can get internet over to these locations, so that way I can choose what channels I want to listen to, what I'm going to be playing on my speakers. So that's part of it. So you have to have a hub for your low voltage, which we do in our utility closet, but then we have to know where do we want the amplifiers to sit. Now this could be as simple as having an entertainment center in your maybe like a living room or another like a loft area. But for ours, we wanted it out of the way in this house here. So we ended up putting it inside of a linen closet, and we're going to block out for our shelving here and have these amplifiers sit in here. So that's where everything has to run back to. So that's your hub where you're sending everything to. We have other areas in the house that we actually have control panels, and I'll show you that here in a second. That's going to allow us to control what zones we're on and what's playing from different areas in the house. But this is basically your hub for everything where it runs back to. So let's take a look over here. So on this wall, we have a Cat 6 that's running here, and this is going to have an LCD screen on this that'll run here. And this is going to control your channels. It's going to control the zones, what zones are playing in the house. So we ended up putting this here, and then that runs back to that location there at the amplifier. We have another one down in the bathroom that you can control as well. So if you want to listen to speakers in the bathroom or control, if you're, say, in the shower, want to listen to a podcast, you can do that down there. So we set it up like that. So this room is the loft, and this is where the entertainment center is going to sit in this house. So this will either be mounted on the wall here or down below on just a piece of furniture. So this probably will just get a speaker in here and not have the surround sound at all. But this gives you an option here to tie up and run cables back over to where the amplifier is at by putting the Smurf tube in. So you see this orange Smurf tube, this runs all the way back over here and comes up into this box. And you can see it coming up in the bottom. So that gives us flexibility later to be able to tie our controls from our speaker back over there to our system here in this room. And you can also see above me, this is how these look when they're pre-wired. So these are speakers in this room here. We try to center them on can lights when we can, or in the same bay or something else to give them aesthetically, make them aesthetically pleasing. This is how they'll tie them between the trusses like this, and then they'll put a cut-in here speaker that you can air seal up inside through the drywall here. So I think they'll fit in like a 3.5 inch or 4 inch base, so you can get them in a really tight spot in the ceilings. And you can see over here, same thing has happened. So we lay this out in line with this can light. We have another speaker here and another speaker right here in white. So they're whites and greens that were run. And this was done in every room to lay it out to where we had the ability to tie this back in. So, and you have, depending on the system that you buy, you can split this up in different amounts of zones. So you can play maybe music upstairs and something, and downstairs you play something different. You could have your porches playing something different. It just depends on the equipment that you buy and what its capabilities are, depending on how many zones you can get. But the idea is to get these all the way back to the amplifier, so you have that capability later whenever you're putting your equipment together. All right, so let's go downstairs and I'll show you what we did on the downstairs. So downstairs, this is a fairly small area. So this has 2 speakers that are pre-wired in here. So up in the ceiling here again, we centered them here between the can lights. And then come back over here, there's another one. The white ones are harder to find. That one's got to be pinned up a little bit, but that's the other one. So they're centered between the can lights this way, and that's covering the space. And then if you look over here, this is where we added another LCD control space, or control panel, and you see the Cat 6 that's running down here, and that's where you're going to be able to control the zones and also the source of the music and the channels here at this spot. And we did the same thing over in the bathroom. So this is, we were talking about earlier, this is like for podcasts or whatever if you want to play any music while you're taking a shower or getting ready in the morning. This is a spot here. So there's another location here that have the LCD screen that'll sit right there. And then there's speakers that got wired up. See where we can find them. They're purple in this one. We got a purple one there, another purple one over here that's closer to the shower. I didn't want to get one exactly right over the shower, but you definitely could have just for moisture issues. But that is what we did in the bathroom. And then in this bedroom, similar thing. Came over here and we got, see if we can find them here. Here we go. There's a pair right there and a pair over here. So we put them in the main living area. We put them in the master bathroom. We also put them in the master bedroom. And then we put them upstairs in the loft area, put them in the secondary bed and in the secondary bath and the office, and kind of another bigger or kind of smaller loft area up top. So those all got speakers that are pre-wired. You don't have to put speakers in all of them, so you could just selectively hook them up inside your panel, but it allows you the opportunity to tie that in at any time in the future. So one other thing to think about is future proofing. So for locations where you want to add, if you're going to add on to a house in the future, or you don't want to get cut off to a certain area. So this Smurf tube right here, this actually runs all the way down through this floor, down the walls on the first floor, and down into the crawl space. So this house might get added onto in the future. So we wanted to make sure that we had a pathway to get any cables from the addition underneath the house and all the way up to the top without having to cut any drywall. So running an extra Smurf tube or two to the location where your amplifier is going to sit is a really good idea. So another thing that's really important as far as sourcing your music, and this is especially because you are hardwiring your house for low EMF to where you don't want to have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, is you can't connect your phone to the system as easily. So you can have a plug-in jack, which you could put in the phone, which actually use your phone as a source to push into the system, and you can place that around your house, similar to that LCD screen. So what you want to check is you want to check if the app that you typically use is able to be gotten online and streamed. So if you can stream it online, then you should be good and you can get the music you want. Otherwise, you're going to need to find another source for your music if you're hardwiring like this. So keep that in mind. So this is, when you're wiring a low EMF, that's one thing you got to consider. All right, so if you're planning out your low voltage system for your house, make sure that speaker wiring is part of that conversation, especially if you're wanting to have a low EMF house where you don't have Wi-Fi and you don't have Bluetooth. That's going to be something you definitely need to consider looking at in more detail and planning out, because you're going to be hardwiring everything. If you'd like more information about building a custom home or an ADU or doing a whole house remodeling project, visit our website at freemansconstruction.com. If you'd like help with your real estate needs, either buying or selling your home or land, visit our website at freemansrealty.com. Thanks again for watching.